this month, where the theme is about the tools of transformation that we can use to change our life, we're going to talk today about the manifestation formula. Like, there's a formula you can use to actually manifest more of what you want and transform your life in ways that make you feel fulfilled. Are like, you interested in that at all? Yeah, that you might want to hang out with us for the next half hour and dive into that a little bit. And so, this is something better. It's waiting. It's waiting for me. It's waiting for you. Like, there's no barrier, really. It's waiting for you. The lyrics that Lainey just sang are so perfect. This or something better is waiting for me, and it's the key that will set my heart free. I don't know about you, but right about now, at this phase of the year, 8 months in, I'm not sure that my heart has been set free. There's been a lot going on lately, but I am ready to focus today on what is the key that will set my heart free. Say this with me. I know it. I claim it. I have it right now. Yeah. So what we're going to be talking about is what we know that we can demonstrate our good. And what is demonstration? Like, there is no mystery to it. It's a pretty easy word to remember. And in the Science of Mind textbook, it says that really a demonstration is simply the experience of proving, exemplifying, or manifesting something better than we had yesterday. Now, that doesn't mean what we had yesterday had to be bad or broken or need fixing. It simply means that we can choose and move into something that is even better than whatever we had yesterday. And if by chance what happened yesterday was broken or bad or uncomfortable, we get to prove or demonstrate something different based on the formula that we're going to be talking with you about today. Ernest Holmes says the teaching of the great thinkers of all time is that we live in a threefold universe of spirit, soul, and body. If you were in the Science of Mind class this morning, we talked about that, and we've been talking about these chapters, and right now we're focusing on the chapter around body. Another way to think of those three words, spirit, soul, and body, is intelligence, substance, and form. And throughout the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes consistently refers to intelligence, substance, and form. All three are required for us to manifest. All three are what lead to the demonstrations we want. And we're going to be talking about that today. But just in case intelligence, substance, and form seem a little heady to you, let me give you a couple of other ways to think about it, because they all mean the same thing. Like, we can say it a dozen different ways. So manifestation is the result of intelligence plus substance plus form. Yes. Manifestation is the result of mental, emotional, and physical lining up, right? Intelligence is mental. Substance is that emotion, that power, that fire, and then it turns into form, which is a physical expression. So, are you with me? Spirit, soul, body, intelligence, substance, form, mental, emotional, physical, and that means we begin, right? We begin, we decide what we want, we have clarity, then we believe in it, we add the fire, we get clear about our beliefs, and then we behave in accordance with that, and we see the form. So that's we could stop right there. But we're not going to stop right there, because we want to talk about each part of that process. And I've got two of my practitioner colleagues that help me with that, and you were introduced to them earlier this morning, if you didn't know them already, Anita Pickinpaugh and Cyndee Young. So we have this opportunity to make it real. Like, I just said some words, and they make sense to you intellectually. And maybe some of you even have thought about some examples of how you have put that formula into practice in your life. And we're going to share some stories as well that will help you recognize how these three elements can be a formula that will guide you into the manifestations that you desire. And so I'm going to start by asking Cyndee to share an example in her own life where this clarity or this decision or this beginning really showed up.
So when I first showed up at CSLDallas about 9 years ago, I was in the midst of a divorce, and I got a divorce shortly after that. And in the divorce, I decided to give up my home and hold on to a piece of property that we had on Lake Louisville. We never built on it because the property value had gone up so high that the taxes really was prohibitive to our ability at that particular time. And it had been on the market for quite some time and hadn't sold. So I had decided that after I was just going to rent for a little while, and about 2 years later, I decided I was ready to entertain the idea of having a home again and get out of apartment life. So I decided to do treatment around a house to lease or a house to buy, although I didn't have the money to actually put down on a house. So I just did a treatment around that. And a couple of weeks later, I was driving down the road, and a voice in my head very loudly said, "Turn right here." So I said, "Okay," and I just said yes to that, turn right. And there on the right-hand side of the road was a house, and it said for sale or for lease. So I jumped out of the car, and I got the flyer, and when I took out the flyer, I looked at the amount that they wanted for the house, and I'm like, that's way out of my price range. And then I looked at what the lease price was, and that was also higher than I wanted to pay. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just take this with me and move on down the road. And later that day, I decided to pull it out and just look at the details of the house. And as I read through it, at the very bottom, it said, "We'll consider trade." So I'm like, really? Well, I have that piece of property that I own that I could trade. So I found a realtor that I knew here at CSLDallas and told him about it and said, well, would you call and find out if they would be interested in potentially trading this property? So he called them, and he said, yes, I would be interested in potentially doing that. So he went over and looked at the house. It was just up here around the corner from CSLDallas, and oh my goodness, it was a really nice house. So we began the process of kind of talking about that. In the meantime, I had to go to Prague for a month to work, and while I was away, the house came off the market. So when I got back, I had the realtor call, and the realtor, that the property was still for sale, but they had leased it, and so the deal was we had to take the lease with the sale if we decided to trade it. So the owner went out and looked at my property and said, yes, he was interested. So I got an appraisal done on that property at that time, and we started through the process of trying to figure it out. Now, it just so happens that the appraisal on my property came back at exactly the same price as that house.
Pure coincidence.
It was a great appraisal. Empty piece of property for a house. This is a pretty good demonstration right here, and that in and of itself would be a good place to end. But wait, there's more. I was in a class called Inward Journey at the time, and Inward Journey is offered here, and it's a very deepening class that really helps you uncover hidden beliefs, look at where you are right now, and also look forward on how you can grow in a more deepening way and with your spiritual practices. And we've been working on uncovering hidden beliefs. And it occurred to me during this time that I really wanted a house on the lake. And why was I not going after a house on the lake? And then I realized that I had a belief, a hidden belief, that I needed to be married to have that house on the lake. That was a goal that we had that we never fulfilled, and somehow I couldn't do it on my own. So with the help of my classmates, we actually released that hidden belief, and we treated for the house on the lake. Now, and I'm not kidding you, within a week, I had a letter in the mail with an offer on my property that was not for sale. And it was a lowball offer, so I contacted the person that had provided this offer and told him what the appraisal had come back, and I was in the process of negotiating a trade. So he offered me the amount of money, cash, for that property right then and there, and I closed on it in about a week. In the meantime, it's like, well, I'm going to go look for a house. So I went up on the internet and found the perfect house, lakefront house, and it was only $50,000 more than I sold that piece of property for. So I went and looked at that house. Now, back in that time, there was a CD that was a meditation, visual, or a guided meditation CD that Dr. Petra and Michael Gott had done, and there was a meditation called Sacred Space that is on that CD that I listened to. And it walks you through envisioning a room and envisioning a chair, envisioning, the surroundings. There was always this big, fluffy white chair with ottoman that was in this meditation whenever I did it, in my mind's eye. And when I walked into the upper master of this house, there was a big, white, fluffy chair with an ottoman looking out over the lake. So there was my sign. That was the perfect house. And I made an offer on that house, complete with requiring that chair stay behind. And then it was closed on. And all of this from beginning to end took less than 30 days for me to manifest it. And the point here is that I was getting in my own way, just like the song said. I have to get out of my own way. But also that you can manifest something and then change your mind. You can actually change your mind and manifest something better. And you shouldn't get in the way of your own dreams. Go for the dream, and don't settle for less than that.
So what a great example of believing, right? Or beginning, deciding, having clarity. I'm ready now for a house. I'm ready now to move out of an apartment into a house. And then within a few days, get some guidance and turning and finding a house and finding a potential, yes, we can make it work, and all the resources falling into place. And then it looking not like it might not work because you go away for a few weeks, and then come back, just coincidence, being in a class where you're talking about what are some hidden beliefs? What are some false beliefs? What do you really believe? Not what do you say you believe, but what do you really believe? And then go, oh. Shifting that belief, I think, is a great example of this idea of what we really believe is what shows up. So we begin by making a decision or setting an intention, and then our beliefs influence what gets placed in our path. And once you had a clarity about that belief, oh no, I don't have to believe that false belief. I can live in a house on the lake in 2 weeks. Wow, like amazing, yes? And so I don't know, when I was hearing this story, I was like, well, yeah, that's a great That's a really great demonstration. I don't know if I can really imagine it in my own life, but it's so powerful. And so it's like, yeah, we begin and then we believe, and then our behavior gets in alignment with that, and we end up with this specific house. This is sitting on the deck at Cyndee's house, looking out at the lake. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I never imagined selling my house and having the person I'm selling it to put in the contract that they want to buy the house, but I have to leave a favorite piece of my own furniture with it. I mean, that is what I call an unreasonable request. However, that is sitting in Cyndee's home looking out at the lake. So manifestation is that formula. We actually begin. We don't just go through life letting whatever happens and think we have no influence. We begin, we decide, we get clarity, we have focus. And then we check out our beliefs and we make sure our beliefs are in alignment with what we say we want. And then we begin to behave in ways that represent that. And Anita has, well, all of us have like a dozen examples, but Anita has a really, really powerful example of putting all three of those together that I think many of us can resonate with.
So I'll take you back on a little journey of my life, take you back to about 2009. And I had been practicing the principles of religious science and science mind for about 22 years at that point in my life, and things were rocking along pretty good. You know, I had a partnership that I was, really into, and had a great job that I'd been at for 16 years, had manifested, a perfect home in Plano for me. And about October of 2009, this employer announced that they were taking the block of business that I worked for off the market. And so there was about 300 employees in Plano that would be looking at layoffs in 6 to 9 months. So, entering in now to what I call the human trifecta, right? The dominoes that fall with that kind of announcement. And so I go forward into January, and my partner decides, yeah, I don't want this partnership anymore. And so, looking at losing my job, looking at losing my partnership, and oh yeah, we were co-owners in the house that we're living in. So there was going my home too. Well, I knew these principles and I knew that they worked, right? So what do we talk about and what do we tell everybody but treat and move your feet, right? So I started doing my prayer work. And mind you now, I hadn't been in an active community for, probably 12, 15 years at that time. I popped in here occasionally when, to CSLDallas when I first moved up to the Metroplex, but I didn't make any place my actual home, right? So I spent most of my time out on the back of a horse. He had been my lifelong dream. And, there was potential I'd lose him too, without a job. So, I started applying for position after position because the intention that I had set, being the great baby boomer I am, you go into a company and you work there for the next 30 years, right? So I set the intention that I was going to continue working for this same employer. What my job was to do was move my feet and apply for other positions within the company. And so I did just that, about 30 of them. I had a lot of interviews, but I didn't have a lot of offers. Along about March, I'm like, I just can't do this anymore by myself. And that's what moved me back into community here at CSLDallas in March of 2010. And right at that time, we were doing a program called Step Out in Faith. And boy, was that a kick in my rear end. right? Because if I truly believed in the principles and believed in how it worked, then I needed to step up my faith in the source of all of it, right? So, I stepped into community where I had people who could hold that truth for me when I was chest deep in it and couldn't do it myself. And that's what your practitioners do for you. They hold that truth for you when you're stuck in it, right? And so I came into community, I went through the program of Step Out in Faith, and I'm like, now I'm applying for these jobs, but I also need to do something about this home. And I really didn't want to lose my home, so I said, okay, here's my step out in faith. Without knowing that I was going to have the money to pay a mortgage, I contacted my mortgage company and inquired about refinancing that house in my name only. Now, I knew what, on paper, my finances looked like with having my second mortgage in my horse, right? Because that's about what it takes to support them. So I knew what it looked like, what my income was. I was salaried, at the time, and it didn't fluctuate. So I knew what everything looked like on paper to me. But what was it going to look like to paper for them? Well, I can say that I never physically saw anyone during this process, that I completed the loan applications online. I had a few conversations on the phone with them. Emails went back and forth. And I never saw anyone until the day that I walked into the title company to actually sign the papers to make that house mine. There was not a hitch. There was not a hesitation. They had no qualms or questions whatsoever about, yep, you look golden. Here you go. But I still had my part that I had to do. And one of the mantras that I came up with every night, I would sit I have a hope chest at the foot of my bed, and I would sit there and go into a gratitude meditation every night before I crawled into bed. And the mantra that came to me was, I am grateful that all of my needs are met before the need even arises. There is always plenty to spare and plenty to share, pressed down, good measure, and overflowing. I resonate that same mantra today. I will celebrate 26 years with my company come December. I've been living in my same house now for 21 years. And that's the power of how this stuff works.
Yes, yes. It's one thing to begin. It's something else that is required for you to believe. Your beliefs have to be in alignment. And then your behavior must also get into alignment. I love that mantra. In fact, I'm going to go listen to the recording of this so I can write it down. Because, I don't know, maybe some of you like me, it's like, I need that one.
Many people who have prayed with me have heard it in prayers.
See, another reason to go to a practitioner for prayer during the week or after service, because you'll get to hear gems like that. But it is our behavior that so often we say what we want, we're clear about it, but then we don't take that next step of doing the spiritual practice, of acting as if it is already so. I'm going to have that house. And then once you got the loan approved, you still didn't have a job yet, did you?
Oh, no, there is that. So it was like in May that I got this loan approved, right? And my last day of employment was supposed to be June 30th. And like I said, I had applied for like 30 jobs. And I got down to the second week in June. And finally, a manager that I'd worked with off and on over the years picked me up to do user acceptance testing 2 weeks before my last day. And so instead, when the office closed June 30th, instead of going home without a job, I simply moved from working in an office to working full-time at home.
Close your mouth, Oscar. Oscar is like, How does this happen? This is why we say TSRW. Right, this works. We know when we use these principles, when we use these practices, right? We've got examples, and every practitioner has examples. Everyone who's been here a while has examples. Like, raise your hand if you could share an example of how you put these three pieces together and saw it happen in your life. Look around. Look around. It works. It's our job to remember it. One, to learn the formula, right? And so if this happens to be your first time hearing the formula, that's okay. But really, it is a formula and it does work. And we can, again, use different words to describe it, but it all goes back to, I know what I want, mental, I claim it, the passion, the belief, and I am going to behave as if I have it. When? Right now. Yes. Nothing is real to us unless we make it real. Whatever it is that we make real in our choices, in our beliefs, and in the way we behave, that's what comes forward. That's what shows up in our lives. And it's no different, no matter what words we use, whether we use the spiritual words and the earnest home words of intelligence, substance, or form, or whether we just think of the fact that we're combining our mental and our emotional and our physical priorities, or whether we remember and think of begin, believe, and behave. It's all the same. It takes all three of them working together in order for us to manifest what we want. I guarantee you this. When your mental, your emotional, and your physical are all aligned with the spiritual truth, manifestation is the natural, law-abiding, spiritual law-abiding consequence. It can be no other way. The law doesn't work for Cyndee, but not work for you. The law doesn't say, Anita, she's been practicing for 22 years. I think maybe I'll work this out for her this time. No. It could have been 22 minutes. And it would have worked out because she had the alignment. And finally, Ernest Holmes says that thoughts of lack manifest as limitation. Thoughts of abundance manifest as success and happiness. Failure and success are but two ends of the same stick. So think about it. The formula is always working. If you believe that nothing ever works out for you, and you behave as if you should be afraid of going after your dreams, what does the universe say?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Oh, okay, that's what this person wants. So the formula is still working. The formula can not work. And so as we this month are focusing on the tools for transformation and really paying attention to how do we change our own lives, how do we manifest what we want, we use this formula. And so our question to you is, what do you want to manifest in your life? What is it that you want to manifest that reflects what you were put here for? Just think back 30 minutes and hear Lainey singing to you. I'm going to say yes to my dreams. Let my imagination soar. I know that I have gifts I must use, and all together, and this is what I was put here for. And so I want you to hold in mind, what is it that you really want to manifest? And I'm going to invite all of the practitioners who are present in the room to move into a place where we can, with clarity, we can begin to join with you in knowing your truth. We can be holding that truth for you because we do know how to use this power, this presence. And so please hold in mind what it is you really want to manifest. Got it? Breathe it in and let us pray. Right here and right now, I go forward.
That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life. It's the life of every person in this room is selecting and deciding. There is absolutely nothing that can separate any of us.
There is no separation between
which are a divine manifestation of the one life that is God. The absolute perfection of spirit. Whole, perfect, complete, right where we refuse to believe in. But what I know today is that for every person here holding that special thought of what they want to see evidenced and manifested in their life, that is what comes forth. Because as they believe, so it is given unto them.
I'm so grateful for knowing that there can be no other way. It is all
life, and it is unceasing for all of the gifts of the kingdom you've already been given. Oh, it is our time to just open up and receive. Being ready to be that moment. And simply in gratitude, I allow that power and presence to move through each and every individual.
Repeat after me. Aho, Ashe, Shalom, Amin, and so it is.